It probably doesn't need to be said that The Princess and the Frog is a very popular Disney film. This was released in 2009, directed by Ron Clements and John Musker, and a lot of people love it. It's got 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb. I've not heard too many people say anything negative about it. However, while I don't have anything particularly negative to say about it, I don't like it. I tried watching it for the first time, a good couple of years ago now. And then I tried watching it again yesterday. And I just can't get into it. There are two reasons. One, I think the narrative is a bit all over the place. And two, I don't like the animation style. So maybe I do have a few negative things to say about it. The animation style is a preference thing. There's nothing wrong with it. It's well edited. It's just not my style. It kind of reminds me of a slightly better version of the animation of Little Bill, if we remember that program. I think it was a Nick Jr. cartoon. And it just kind of reminds me of that. Very basic, not very detailed. But if you like that kind of animation style, which a lot of people do, it's very popular, that's fine. But it didn't really appeal to me. With regards to the narrative, it was okay once it got going, but it took a little while to get somewhere, and by that point I'd kind of started to lose hope. I'll read the description from IMDb though. A waitress, desperate to fulfill her dreams as a restaurant owner, is set on a journey to turn a frog prince back into a human being, but she has to face the same problem after she kisses him. I love the premise. I love the concept. Our waitress, if you like, is Tiana, and she kisses this frog. Obviously, we assume that, this is at the very beginning, we assume that this frog is going to turn into a handsome prince. Usually what happens in this kind of narrative. But she then turns into a frog and has to follow this adventure and try and, solve problems and things while she is a frog. Will they both turn back into humans? Will she ever get her restaurant dream? It's interesting. And once it kind of got going, as I said, it was a lot better. But I think it took a long time to get somewhere for me to start finding the narrative interesting. And because that's coupled with an animation style that I wasn't really into, it just didn't really appeal to me. There are positive things. For example, I love the fact that Tiana's dream is to have a restaurant. Her dream is not to marry Prince Charming. Her dream is to not be wealthy and live in a castle. She actually has a business ambition. And I find that even for Disney films that come after this, if we look at Frozen and Anna, Anna wants to meet her perfect somebody. Even films that come after this, we have kind of more traditional classic fairy tale narratives. But with this one, she's actually got a brilliant ambition, and I found that to be so beautiful. And with regards to kind of the creativity they've taken with the traditional story of the Frog Prince, I think they've done a very good job with it once it got going. But the pacing at the beginning was a little bit off and kind of just didn't really speak to me, so I lost patience quite quickly. The soundtrack is fine, but there are no songs in this that stood out to me. And that's not necessarily because I don't like the film that much, because there are a lot of Disney songs that I fell in love with long before I saw the films. I have listened to a lot of these songs on compilation albums long before I saw the film for at least the second time, and none of them have ever grabbed me. And to be honest, I don't really hear them that often on things like Disney AccuRadio and things. So I don't know if the soundtrack in general is just not that popular, but I do find the film itself is very popular, and I can in some ways see why. For example, as I said, the fact that Tiana is a really interesting character, although not perfect, is something that works very well and is quite unique to Disney films even after the fact. But the animation style just didn't work for me, which is a massive shame, because I think if it did, maybe I would have enjoyed it a bit more. But unfortunately, it just didn't grab me too much. We do have a great voice cast. It's a Disney film. Obviously, Jim Cummings voices. He voices Ray. We also have Oprah Winfrey, which is obviously amazing. Corey Burton voices as Anika Noni Rose voices Tiana, and Keith David as Dr. Facilier, and Bruno Campos as Prince Naveen. Michael Leon Wooley as Louis, who I love, but that's just because it's one of my strongest emojis on Disney Emoji Blitz. The Princess and the Frog, I can understand the appeal in some ways, but after 2 attempts to watch it, I can honestly say that it does not appeal to me.